Let's be real. People lie more often than we'd like to believe. And it's not just strangers. Sometimes it's the people closest to us, friends, family, partners, or colleagues. We think we're good at spotting lies, but the truth is, most of us miss the warning signs. Not because they aren't there, but because we choose to overlook them. Why? Because we want to trust the people in our lives. It feels safer to believe that those we care about are always honest with us. But as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, if someone is deceiving you, the problem is not their deception, but your willingness to believe it. Lies don't always come wrapped in obvious deceit. Sometimes they slip through the cracks, in everyday conversations disguised as half-truths, evasions, or carefully crafted stories. I've been there myself. I once trusted someone deeply, convinced that I had a strong sense of their character. I ignored the small inconsistencies, brushed off their sudden defensiveness, and made excuses for the moments when things didn't quite add up. Then the truth hit me like a wrecking ball. They had been lying to me for months, and the signs were there all along. I just didn't want to see them. The lesson? Being aware of deception doesn't mean becoming cynical. It means protecting yourself. The Stoics believed that clarity and truth are essential for a strong life. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." This mindset is what we need when dealing with dishonesty, not paranoia, but awareness. So today, we're cutting through the illusions and exposing 7 undeniable signs that someone is lying to you. Some of these might be subtle, some might hit uncomfortably close to home. But if you truly want better, more honest relationships, you need to start recognizing these behaviors, because at the end of the day, a relationship built on falsehoods is no relationship at all. Let's dive in. Ever had a conversation where someone dodges your question like a verbal ninja? One moment, you're asking something important, and the next, they've steered the discussion towards something completely unrelated. It's not a coincidence. Some people have an escape route ready at all times, shifting topics the second things get uncomfortable. This isn't just casual forgetfulness. It's a deliberate way to avoid accountability. I've seen this firsthand. I was in a relationship where every time I brought up future plans, where we wanted to be in a year, how we'd handle challenges, suddenly, the conversation would switch to something trivial. What to eat for dinner? A random Instagram post. At first I thought maybe they just weren't ready for deep talks. But over time, I realized they were never ready. The truth is, people don't steer conversations away from serious topics by accident. They do it because facing the truth makes them uncomfortable. And we let them get away with it because we don't want to seem too pushy. But here's the Stoic perspective on this. Avoidance doesn't protect relationships, it weakens them. Seneca once said, "To err is human, but to persist in deception is folly." Ignoring the signs doesn't make them go away. It only makes the deception grow stronger. How to handle it, observe the pattern. If someone consistently dodges tough conversations, ask yourself why. Call it out calmly. Instead of letting it slide, redirect the conversation. "I noticed we keep avoiding this topic. Why is that?" Pay attention to their response. Do they engage or do they keep deflecting? Because honest people face the truth, even when it's difficult. At the end of the day, if someone values you in the relationship, they won't hide behind distractions. Listening is an art, but most people don't practice it. They don't truly hear what's being said. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. And when someone is being dishonest, this becomes even more obvious. A liar isn't listening to understand. They're listening to control the conversation. The difference between hearing and listening. Genuine listening requires presence. It means absorbing what the other person is saying, thinking about it, and responding with depth. But liars don't want to engage at that level. Instead, they use surface-level responses, parroting back phrases just to sound involved. It's a tactic to buy time, steer the conversation, or make you feel like they're engaged when in reality, They're just trying to stay in control. I once confronted a friend about a rumor they had spread. Instead of addressing it, they deflected. They repeated my words, twisted them into a joke, and made it seem like I was overreacting. They weren't engaging with my concern. They were dodging accountability while trying to maintain control. This is how liars operate. They give vague, recycled answers. They nod, say things like, "Yeah, totally. I get what you mean. I see what you're saying." But they never actually contribute anything meaningful. They may even agree with you in a way that shuts down further discussion. The goal? To stall, distract, and prevent deeper inquiry. The Stoic perspective on true listening, Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from clarity and understanding, not from controlling a conversation. Liars seek control. Honest people seek truth. How to spot this and respond? The next time you're in a serious discussion, ask yourself, are they engaging with the specifics of what I'm saying? Do they give thoughtful responses, or are they just mirroring my words? Are they genuinely invested in the conversation, or just looking for a way to move past it? If someone isn't truly listening, they're not just being dismissive, they're likely hiding something. What you can do about it, press. For specifics, if their responses are vague, ask, "Can you explain that more?" or "What do you mean by that?" Observe their body language. Do they seem engaged, or are they just waiting for their turn to speak? Stay calm and redirect. If they deflect, bring the conversation back. That's interesting, but let's go back to my question. Liars thrive on shallow engagement. Honest people are willing to sit with the discomfort of a real conversation. If someone avoids that, don't ignore the red flag. Ever ask a harmless question and suddenly the person goes into attack mode? A simple inquiry like, "Did you finish that report?" can trigger an aggressive reaction, making it seem like they are being unfairly targeted. This reaction is more than just irritation. It is often a sign of guilt. When people feel wrongly accused, they usually clarify their actions calmly. But when someone overreacts by raising their voice, shifting blame, or making you feel guilty for even asking, that is a red flag. I had a colleague who did this all the time. Whenever I asked for a quick update on a project, he would fire back with statements like, "Why do you always think I am not working? I have been doing my part." This was odd because I never accused him of slacking. I was simply asking for an update. His defensiveness was completely disproportionate to the situation. In the end, I found out he had not done the work at all and was scrambling to cover it up. Defensiveness does not always mean someone is lying, but repeated overreaction is a sign something is off. If you had nothing to hide, why not just answer the question? People who are confident in their actions do not feel the need to fight every inquiry, as if it is an attack. How to recognize this behavior? When you ask a question, does their reaction match the situation? Do they immediately shift blame or try to make you feel bad for asking? Do they become aggressive instead of simply answering? The Stoic perspective, Stoicism, teaches that we should focus on how we respond to situations, not how others react to us. If someone is defensive, that is their issue to manage, not yours. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can refute me, show me I am making a mistake, or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I will gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." If someone consistently overreacts when pressed, it is not about you asking too much. It is about them hiding too much. The best response? Stay calm, observe, and let the truth reveal itself. Some people tell stories so perfectly structured that they sound like something straight out of a Hollywood script. Every detail flows seamlessly, the timing is impeccable, and there is not a single inconsistency. At first, it might seem impressive, maybe even charismatic. But here is the problem: real life is not a movie. Genuine stories have flaws, stumbles, and inconsistencies. People forget details, mix up timelines, or admit when they are unsure about something. When a story is too smooth, it is worth questioning whether it has been rehearsed, because the more polished it is, the more likely it has been manufactured. Once knew a guy who loved telling grand stories about his business ventures. Let's call him Jake. One day, he told us about a supposed $1 million deal he had closed, describing every moment in dramatic detail: the firm handshake, the intense negotiation, the exact words exchanged. It was cinematic. Too cinematic. Something felt off, so I started asking questions. What company was this deal with? What specific challenges did you have to negotiate? When did all of this happen? The more I pressed, the more his polished story started to crumble. He would get vague, backtrack, or contradict something he had said earlier. Eventually, I realized that half of it was exaggerated, and the rest was completely made up. This is how liars operate. They craft stories to impress, not to tell the truth. They overcompensate by making their story sound flawless because they know if they leave gaps, people might dig deeper. But here's the issue. Real memories are not perfect. The more polished the details, the more unnatural it becomes. The Stoic perspective on truth Epictetus once said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them." A liar's goal is to control your judgment by shaping a perfect narrative. But truth is rarely perfect. It is messy, uncertain, and sometimes incomplete. How to expose a fabricated story? The best way to test if a story is real. Ask unexpected questions. Who else was involved in the deal? What was the biggest challenge you faced? Wait, wasn't that the same day you said you were out of town? A liar's worst enemy is follow-up questions. They can rehearse a main story, but they cannot prepare for every detail. So if something sounds too good to be true, start poking holes in the narrative, because the truth is rarely flawless, and reality is not a script. Your body speaks louder than your words. You can choose what to say, but your subconscious will often betray what you truly feel. This is why liars, no matter how well they craft their words, often reveal themselves through body language. 1. The biggest indicators? When someone angles their body away from you while talking. They may still be facing you with their head, but if their feet, torso, or shoulders shift away, it is a subconscious attempt to distance themselves from the lie. I once had a friend who did this all the time. During normal conversations, they would sit comfortably facing me, but the moment I brought up a sensitive or uncomfortable topic, they would start shifting, crossing their arms, turning slightly to the side, or leaning away. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but over time, I realized it was a pattern. Sure enough, I later found out they had been hiding something. Their body knew it before their words admitted it. Why does this happen? Our bodies react to stress and deception in ways we cannot always control. A liar might keep a straight face, but their hands might fidget, their feet might shuffle, or they may unconsciously create distance between themselves and the conversation. Signs to watch for feet pointing away. When someone is uncomfortable, their body often starts angling toward an exit. Crossed arms. This is not always a sign of lying, but in the context of a serious conversation, it can indicate defensiveness or discomfort. Sudden stillness. Some people freeze up when they lie, overcompensating by appearing too normal, touching the face or neck. This is a classic stress response, often seen when someone is hiding something. The Stoic perspective on reading people. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Body language alone does not confirm deception, but it provides valuable context. Stoicism teaches us to observe without immediate judgment. Instead of jumping to conclusions, use these signals as a reason to ask deeper questions. What you can do, pay attention in real time. If someone's body language changes when you bring up a specific topic, do not ignore it. Ask deeper questions. Instead of accusing, remain curious. "I noticed you seem uncomfortable. Is there something on your mind?" Look for consistency. A single shift in body language is not proof, but a pattern over time is worth noting. Liars may control their words, but their body often tells the real story. Stay observant, stay calm, and let the truth reveal itself. Humor is powerful. It lightens the mood, eases tension, and makes tough conversations feel less overwhelming. But when someone laughs off serious topics, it is often not about humor. It is about avoidance. Instead of engaging in an uncomfortable discussion, they joke about it, hoping you will drop the subject. At first, this might seem harmless, maybe even charming, but when it becomes a pattern, it is a red flag. Some people use humor not to make light of a situation, but to dismiss accountability and shut down real conversations. I experienced this firsthand in a past relationship. Every time I tried to bring up something important, whether it was about trust, commitment, or future plans, my partner would laugh it off. If I said, "I feel like we are not as connected as before," the response would be something like, "Oh wow, you are getting deep again, huh?" Followed by a chuckle. If I tried to continue, they would change the subject or make another joke. At first, I thought maybe they were just uncomfortable with serious talks. But over time, I realized it was not about discomfort. It was about dodging responsibility. They did not want to engage because doing so meant facing the truth. And they knew if they could make me feel like I was overreacting, I might stop pressing the issue. Why people use humor to deflect. This is a common tactic. People use laughter as a shield, not just to avoid tough topics, but to make you question whether the issue even matters. It is a form of emotional manipulation, designed to keep the conversation on the surface, where they feel safe. The Stoic perspective on facing difficult conversations, Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Stoicism teaches that avoiding discomfort does not protect us, it weakens us. True strength comes from engaging with reality, not avoiding it. If someone consistently laughs off serious topics, they are not just avoiding one conversation, they are avoiding real connection. How to handle this behavior? Call it out directly. Instead of laughing along, ask, "Why is that funny?" This forces them to acknowledge their reaction. Stay firm and redirect. If they dodge with another joke, bring back, "I am being serious about this, let's talk about it." Observe their response. A genuine person will recognize their deflection and engage. Someone avoiding accountability will continue to evade the discussion. Final thought: real conversations, the ones that build strong relationships, are not always light and easy. They require honesty, even when it is uncomfortable. Pay attention to those who use humor as a defense mechanism. If someone cannot take serious matters seriously, ask yourself, are they avoiding this conversation, or are they avoiding the truth? Liars thrive in gray areas. They avoid giving straight answers, instead filling conversations with vague statements, meaningless details, and evasive responses. The issue is not that they do not know the answer, it is that they do not want to be pinned down. When you ask an honest person a question, they do one of two things. They give a direct, clear answer. If they don't know, they admit it. But a liar, they dance around the truth. They might say, "Oh yeah, we are working on that," instead of telling you exactly what is happening. They might use phrases like, "It is complicated," "It is in the works," "I cannot say too much right now," anything to avoid specifics. I once worked with someone like this. They were always talking about big deals, exciting partnerships, and major breakthroughs. But whenever I asked for details, "What company is this deal with? When will it be finalized?" their answers were always vague and evasive. "Oh, it is still in the negotiation stage. I do not want to jinx it." Weeks turned into months, and guess what? The deals never existed. Why liars avoid specifics? This is how liars operate. They give just enough information to make their story sound real, but never enough to be verified. They keep things blurry on purpose because the more details they give, the easier it is to catch inconsistencies. The Stoic perspective on clarity and truth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Stoicism values clarity and integrity. Liars fear precision because specifics expose dishonesty. How to handle vague responses. Press for specifics. Instead of accepting vague answers, ask, "What date? Who exactly? How? Did that happen?" Observe their reaction. If they get uncomfortable, delay answering, or keep shifting the goalpost, that is a sign they are hiding something. Watch for defensiveness. An honest person will clarify when asked for details. A liar will get irritated or evade the question. Final thought. The truth is simple. If someone cannot be specific when it matters, they do not want you to know the truth. And that is a red flag you cannot afford to ignore. Lies are not always obvious. They do not always come in the form of a bold, outright deception. Sometimes they are hidden in the small things: a sudden topic change, an overly polished story, an awkward laugh, or a vague response when pressed for details. Most people do not get fooled because they never saw the truth. They get fooled because they ignored the signs. They convinced themselves it was nothing. They assumed they were overthinking. But deception thrives when doubt is silenced. The best way to protect yourself is not to be paranoid. It is to pay attention. Watch how people respond when asked simple questions. Notice their body language. See if their stories hold up under scrutiny. The truth is always consistent, but lies require constant maintenance, and eventually that maintenance slips. The Stoic perspective on truth and awareness. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The danger is not just in being lied to, it is in assuming that we already know the truth without questioning it. So do not ignore the red flags. Ask the hard questions. Pay attention when something does not add up. If a conversation feels off, do not brush it aside. Lean into it. Because the people who truly respect you will have no problem being honest with you. And at the end of the day, that is what you deserve: honesty, clarity, and real connections.